The celebration lights over Coruscant were bright enough to drown the stars. They burst above the Imperial Palace in blossoms of crimson, gold, and cold white fire. Reflected in the black armor of Darth Vader as he stood upon the balcony beside his master. Far below, the crowds roared with devotion. Flags snapped in the artificial wind. Military drums rolled through the night like the heartbeat of some enormous beast, and every tower of the city world seemed to shine in obedience to the Empire. Vader did not move. He had learned stillness better than any statue. The armor held him upright when grief would have bent him. The mask hid what the face beneath could no longer express. The respirator spoke for him, each breath mechanical, measured, inescapable. To the galaxy, this was a holy night of order. To the governors gathered in silk and metals, it was the anniversary of salvation from chaos. To the stormtroopers standing in endless white ranks, it was proof that the Empire had replaced fear with certainty. To Vader, it was the night everything had burned. The Jedi Temple, the Republic, his wife, his child. The last thought struck deeper than the others, though he tried to crush it the moment it formed. There was no child. There had never been a child. The child had died with Padmé, and the fault was his. He had been told this. He had believed it, because his master had spoken it. Because his own memory was a shattered thing, full of fire, screams, and the taste of ash. Beside him, Emperor Palpatine smiled at the sky. "A magnificent display," the Emperor said, his voice soft enough that only Vader could hear him beneath the thunder of celebration. "The people require symbols. They must look upward and believe power protects them." "Yes, my master." Palpatine's yellowed eyes flicked toward him. "You sound distant, Lord Vader." "I am attentive." "To the fireworks, perhaps. Not to me." Vader turned his helmet slightly. The Emperor's smile widened. "Do you resent this night?" "No." "A wise answer. Whether it is true or not is another matter." The old man returned his gaze to the city. Vader remained silent. He had learned that silence was sometimes the only defiance left to him. A pale aide in a dark military uniform approached the balcony doors, bowed so low his chin nearly touched his chest, and waited until Palpatine lifted a finger. "Speak," the Emperor said. "My lord," the aide. "Director Callus Vaughn requests immediate audience. He claims the matter concerns Alderaan." Palpatine did not look surprised. Palpatine never looked surprised. That was one of the things Vader hated most about him. "Alderaan," the Emperor murmured. "So Senator Organa brings trouble, even on a night of unity." "Shall I summon him?" the aide asked. "No." Palpatine's gaze slid toward Vader. "Lord Vader will hear it first. He has always had a talent for uncovering hidden loyalties." Vader felt the faintest ripple in the Force. Not danger. Not yet. Something smaller, sharper, like a needle beneath the skin. He bowed. "As you command." The director waited in an antechamber lined with black stone and silver imperial seals. Callus Vaughn was a narrow man with a smooth scalp, deep-set eyes, and the careful posture of someone who had survived longer than his rivals by never being the loudest person in any room. He wore the gray of imperial intelligence, but without ornament. His power lived in files, whispers, intercepted transmissions, erased names. He bowed when Vader entered. "My lord." "You interrupted the Emperor's observance," Vader said. "Justify yourself." Varn's throat moved. "A courier was taken in the lower Senate district. Alderaanian clearance codes. False identity. Poison capsule hidden in a tooth. He broke before he used it. Rebel? Not openly. Not yet. He carried fragments of a message, heavily encoded. Most of it burned during capture, but one phrase survived." Vader waited. Varn lifted a small holoprojector. Blue light trembled between them, forming a broken line of text. "The children are the flame they fear." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the chamber seemed to narrow. The sounds of fireworks faded beyond thick transparasteel. Vader stared at the words. He did not know why they struck him. They were vague. Rebellion was full of poetry, superstition, martyr language. Children could mean heirs, students, cells, recruits. Flame could mean hope. Yet the Force stirred. Not as it did in battle, not as warning. It moved like a breath across a grave. "Explain," Vader said. Farn moistened his lips. "We believe it references hidden Jedi survivors." Vader's gloved hand tightened. The projector casing creaked. "Jedi?" "Possibly younglings removed before the Purge. There are rumors, my lord. Always rumors. Senator Organa's name appears too often near them." "Organa is watched." "With respect, Lord Vader, watched is not the same as understood. He is careful. His household is careful. Even his family records are unusually sealed." Vader looked down at the blue words until they blurred into memory. Children. Flame. Fear. "Where is Organa now?" "In the palace reception hall. The Alderaanian delegation arrived this afternoon. His wife is with him. Their daughter as well." The Force shifted again. Vader turned his helmet. "Daughter?" "Yes, my lord. Princess Leia Organa." The name meant nothing. The echo that followed it meant everything. Vader saw nothing, yet for half a breath he remembered brown eyes in sunlight, a laugh hidden behind a senator's mask, a hand over a swollen belly. He heard Padmé say that there was good in him, and he hated her for being wrong, and loved her for having believed it. Farn mistook his silence for displeasure. "My lord, the princess is only a child, but Alderaan often teaches politics early. She may be useful leverage if Organa resists inquiry." The projector shattered in Vader's hand. Farn went pale. "You will not approach the child," Vader said. "Of course, my lord." "You will not speak her name outside secured channels." "Yes, my lord." "You will provide me every record you possess on House Organa. Birth certificates, adoption filings, medical registries, travel logs, midwife reports, everything." Farn bowed rapidly. "At once." Vader left him shaking in the antechamber. The reception hall glittered with wealth stolen from obedient worlds. Alderaanian gowns flowed like water among rigid Imperial uniforms. Musicians played from a raised platform, while officers spoke of peace with hands that had signed bombardment orders. At the far end of the hall, Bail Organa stood in white and deep blue, gracious as ever, his smile calm enough to irritate every predator in the room. Beside him stood Queen Breha, elegant, watchful, and quietly tired. Between them stood the girl. Vader saw her before he meant to. She was small, dark-haired, straight-backed, dressed in pale Alderaanian formal robes with silver thread at the cuffs. She should have looked fragile among so many uniforms. She did not. She looked furious. A regional governor bent toward her, telling some polished lie about the Empire bringing prosperity to the Outer Rim. The girl listened with a royal stillness that did not reach her eyes. Then she said, clear enough for nearby officers to hear, "Prosperity must have gotten lost on the way." The governor blinked. Bail into his hand. Breha placed a gentle palm on the girl's shoulder, but the princess did not lower her gaze. Vader stopped at the edge of the hall. The Force did not whisper now. It struck. Not with certainty. Certainty would have been easier. It struck with recognition, impossible and unwanted. The girl's presence was bright, shielded by no training, yet blazing beneath her skin. Her anger was not the choking poison of the dark side. It was cleaner, younger, dangerous in another way. It was Padmé's courage before the Senate. It was Anakin Skywalker's refusal to bow. It was a blade not yet forged, but already sharp. The girl turned. Across the hall, through dancers and diplomats and armored guards, her eyes found the mask. She did not flinch. Every adult in the room knew to look away from Darth Vader. The child did not. She stared with frank suspicion, as if he were not the Emperor's executioner, but a locked door she intended to open. Vader's respirator filled the silence around him. Bail noticed where his daughter was looking. The senator's face changed by a fraction. No one else would have seen it. Vader saw fear. Not political caution, not dislike. Fear for the girl. Vader began walking. The crowd parted. Conversations died as he crossed the polished floor. Leia remained where she was, though Brea's hand tightened on her shoulder, and Bail subtly stepped half a pace in front of her. "Senator Organa," Vader said. "Lord Vader," Bail replied, bowing with perfect courtesy. "A rare honor. Your presence on Coruscant is unexpected. The Emperor requested full attendance." "The Emperor requests many things. You do not always obey quickly." A few nearby officers pretended not to listen. Bail's smile held. "Alderaan serves peace. We answer when peace requires us." Vader turned his helmet toward the girl. "And this is your daughter." Bail's breath caught so softly that only the Force revealed it. "Princess Leia," Brea said before Bail could answer. Her voice was warm, but her fingers rested protectively on the child's shoulder. "Our daughter." Leia lifted her chin. "I know who you are." Vader looked down at her. "Do you?" "You are the Emperor's fist." A murmur went through the nearest guests. Bail said, "Leia," but the girl continued. "That is what people call you when they think no one important is listening." Vader felt something impossible move inside him. Amusement. It was buried so deep it might have belonged to a dead man, but it stirred. "And what do you call me?" he asked. Leia studied the mask. "Lonely." Bail went still. Brea's face drained of color. The words struck harder than any insult could have. Vader felt the hall vanish around him. There was only the child and the raw, untrained certainty with which she had spoken. Not cruelly, not triumphantly, as if she had seen a wound and named it, before knowing wounds were private things. His hand twitched. Leia's eyes narrowed, as though she sensed the danger and refused to retreat from it. Bail lowered his voice. "My lord, she is young." "Yes," Vader said. "She is." He stepped closer. The girl's presence brightened in fear, but still she did not step back. "What else do you see, Princess?" For the first time, uncertainty crossed her face. "I don't know." "Try." "Lord Vader," Bail warned softly. Vader ignored him. Leia swallowed. Her gaze moved over the black mask, the chest panel, the gloves, the cape. Then her eyes unfocused slightly, not trained enough to understand what she was touching through the Force. "I see fire," she said, "and someone crying. Not you. A woman." Vader could not breathe. The respirator continued, but the man inside the armor could not breathe. Brea drew Leia back sharply. "That is enough." The girl blinked, startled by her mother's fear. Vader turned his helmet toward Bail. The senator's mask of diplomacy was cracking. Beneath it, terror stood naked. "You will remain available for questioning," Vader said. Bail bowed. "Of course, my lord." Vader left before the hall could see him break. In his meditation chamber, he accessed the records. Varn had gathered them quickly, eager to prove usefulness and terrified of failing. Alderaanian adoption seals, medical certificates, royal household statements, travel permissions. Each document was clean. Too clean. Leia Organa appeared in the palace registry as an infant of unknown wartime parentage, adopted under emergency humanitarian statute by the royal house. The date blurred before Vader's eyes. He searched again. Same season, same narrow window. Padmé had died. The child had died. Palpatine had told him so. Vader requested sealed Senate medical traffic from the final days of the Republic. Much had been destroyed. More had been altered. But alteration left scars. Codes overlapped where they should not. A relief ship listed under one designation changed transponder identity near Polis Massa. An Alderaanian diplomatic vessel departed the same system shortly afterward. Another record appeared, buried beneath false routing. A small civilian craft from Tatooine had transmitted an emergency maintenance ping near the same sector days later. Owner unidentified. Passenger list erased. Destination unconfirmed. Tatooine. The words scraped across Vader's mind like sand. He had not returned. Not to the slave quarters, not to the moisture farm, not to his mother's grave, not to the place where Anakin Skywalker had learned that love could become slaughter. He had avoided the world because even Vader feared some ghosts. Now the ghosts were calling. A chime sounded. Palpatine's image shimmered above the console. "My friend," the Emperor said, "you vanished from the reception." "I was pursuing the Alderaanian matter." "Indeed. Director Varn tells me you were very forceful." "He will be efficient." "He will be frightened. Efficiency is merely the shape fear takes in lesser men." Vader said nothing. Palpatine watched him through the hologram. "Did you find something?" "Alderaan has hidden communications." "Alderaan hides many things. Bail Organa has always mistaken courtesy for armor." "I will investigate further." "Good. But take care, Lord Vader. Organa's household has become symbolically useful. If you crush him too crudely, the Senate will whine. And I am in no mood for theatrical sorrow from weak systems." "You wish him spared?" "I wish him exposed. There is a difference." Palpatine leaned closer, his holographic eyes bright. "And if he has hidden Jedi children, I want them alive." The chamber chilled. "For interrogation?" Vader asked. "For instruction," Palpatine smiled. "The Jedi failed because they feared attachment, but children shaped properly can become instruments of devotion. Imagine it. A generation raised with no memory of the old order, loyal only to the throne." Vader's hands curled. "Do you object?" Palpatine asked. "No, my master." The Emperor's smile thinned. "I feel a tremor in you. The matter is unexpected." "Many things are unexpected. That does not make them meaningful." Palpatine paused, and when he spoke again, his voice became almost gentle. "Do not let dead dreams confuse you. Padmé is gone. The child is gone. You killed them. You remember this?" Vader bowed his helmet. "Yes, my master." The hologram faded. For a long moment, Vader stared at empty air. Then he opened a private channel no Imperial archive recorded, one built from old Separatist encryption and Sith temple code. He sent a command to a droid hidden in a forgotten maintenance vault beneath the palace. "Find every trace of Obi-Wan Kenobi." The answer came hours later. Nothing. Kenobi had become smoke. A dead name with no body. A rumor in desert cantinas. A shadow attached to Tatooine merchant records, too faint for ordinary intelligence to notice. Vader rose from his chamber. The decision formed not as rebellion, not yet, but as hunger. He needed truth. If truth damned the galaxy, so be it. Bail Organa left Coruscant before dawn. He did not flee like a guilty man. He departed with permissions stamped, speeches delivered, farewells exchanged, and guards thanked by name. His diplomatic cruiser, the Moonwake, lifted from the palace dock under a veil of formal respectability. Vader watched from a tower platform as it rose into the pale city sky. Varn stood several paces behind him. "Shall we detain them?" "No." "My lord." "Track them. We have already placed beacons on the hull." "Organa will find those." Varn hesitated. "Then how do we track him?" Vader looked toward the vanishing ship. "I will." The Moonwake traveled first to Alderaan, but Vader knew the route was theater. Bail Organa was too clever to hide secrets in the place where everyone expected him to guard them. The senator remained in the palace for several days, attending councils and public ceremonies. Leia appeared twice in public gardens. She smiled for holocams. She bowed to elders. She looked, to any ordinary eye, like a princess safely home. Vader was not an ordinary eye. He felt the moment she left. Her presence vanished behind a veil of distance and false roots, but not completely. The Force had tasted her now. It left a trail like warmth in cold ash. Vader took a small black courier vessel from an unmarked military dock. Its registry named it the Obsidian Veil. Its crew consisted of droids and a single human pilot named Raidus Mal, a scarred veteran who had learned not to ask why Lord Vader traveled without escort. They followed no official lane. They passed through dead systems, skirted patrol buoys, and emerged near the dust-colored wound of Tatooine. The planet hung beneath them, bright and barren. Vader stood at the viewport. The last time he had left this world, his mother was dead, and something in him had begun dying with her. He had carried that death into war, marriage, fear, betrayal, and flame. Now the same world waited below, unchanged, as if the sand had no memory of blood. It remembered. The Force remembered. "Set us down beyond Anchorhead," Vader said. Raidus Mal did not turn. "Yes, my lord." The obsidian veil descended through heat shimmer and dust. Far from them, on a moisture farm beneath a brutal sky, Luke Skywalker looked up from evaporator and felt his heart jump for no reason. He shaded his eyes. There was nothing there. Only sky, glare, and the faint line of a distant freighter sliding toward the horizon. "Luke!" Owen Lars called from the courtyard. "Stop staring at the clouds that aren't there and tighten that coupling." Luke dropped his hand. "I saw something." "You always see something." This was real. Owen stepped out from under the shade cloth, broad and stern, his face cut by sun and worry. "Real things on Tatooine usually cost money or bring trouble. Either way, we don't invite them." Luke crouched beside the evaporator again, but his fingers shook around the tool. He had dreamed of a black tower the night before. Not a building, a man. A man who breathed like machinery and carried a storm inside him. In the dream, Luke had stood across from him on a field of glass. Somewhere beyond the glass, a girl was shouting his name, though he had never met her. He woke with tears on his face, and no idea why. Beru had noticed. Beru noticed everything. She had placed a hand on his hair and asked whether the dreams had returned. Luke had said no. He hated lying to her. By afternoon, the air changed. Owen felt it first in the behavior of the droids. They rolled in nervous circles, sensors twitching toward the southern ridge. The banthas in a neighboring enclosure groaned and pulled at their tethers. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then the black figure appeared at the top of the rise. Luke stood frozen. He had never seen Darth Vader in person. He knew the name from rumor, from holodramas Owen switched off too quickly, from whispered cantina talk when pilots drank enough to forget caution. He knew Vader was the Emperor's servant. He knew he hunted traitors. He knew people vanished after seeing him. He also knew, with a certainty that made no sense, that he had dreamed of him. Owen moved before Luke could speak. "Inside," he snapped. "But inside!" Beru emerged from the doorway, saw the ridge, and went pale. "Owen." Vader descended the slope alone. No stormtroopers, no escort, no drawn blade. His cape moved in the hot wind like a patch of night torn loose from space. Owen grabbed the old rifle from beside the door and shoved Luke behind him. "Beru, take him." Luke resisted. "Uncle Owen, who is he?" Beru's hand closed around his wrist. "Come with me." Vader entered the courtyard. Owen raised the rifle. "Go no farther." Vader stopped. The sight should have been absurd. A moisture farmer with an aging rifle standing against the nightmare of the Empire. But Owen's fear was braided with something harder. He was not brave because he thought he could win. He was brave because the boy behind him mattered more than survival. Vader recognized that kind of courage. He had once hated it in Obi-Wan. Now it stood between him and the truth. "Owen Lars," Vader said. Owen's grip tightened. "That name doesn't belong to you." "No, but something here does." Beru drew Luke closer. The boy stared. Blonde hair, blue eyes, narrow shoulders not yet grown into strength, sun-browned skin. A face that did not belong to Tatooine, no matter how fiercely the farm tried to claim him. Vader felt the galaxy tilt. The Force rose around the boy like dawn. Different from Leia. Leia burned outward, defiant, fierce, already shaping the world with her will. Luke shone inward, open and aching, full of questions he had no language for. But the power was there. The blood was there. His blood. Padmé's gentleness, Skywalker fire. Vader's hand moved to his chest without permission. Luke noticed. "Are you hurt?" Owen whispered. "Luke, be quiet." The question tore through Vader more cruelly than any accusation could have. "Are you hurt?" As if the boy could not see that the answer was carved into every inch of him. "Yes," Vader said. The single word silenced them all. Beru's eyes filled with dread, not for herself, for Luke. Vader looked at her. "You know who he is." Beru's lips trembled. Owen said, "He is my nephew." "No. He is mine," Owen snarled, and the rifle shook. "He is ours. You don't get to come here after all these years and claim anything." Luke looked from Owen to Vader. "Uncle Owen?" Vader felt the word uncle like a door closing. A part of him wanted to rip the rifle from Owen's hands, tear the truth out of them, take the boy, take the girl, take every stolen piece of his life, and crush anyone who stood in his way. That was the way of Vader. That was simple. That was known. But Luke was watching. And beneath the fear, the boy was not horrified. He was curious. Hopeful, even. Vader hated that most. "Who was my father?" Luke asked suddenly. Owen turned. "Luke." "No. Every time I ask, you tell me he was a navigator, or a pilot, or he died in the wars, but you never say his name the same way twice." Luke pulled free of Beru's hand. "Who was he?" The wind moved through the courtyard. Vader could not speak. Owen answered for him. "A good man who lost himself." Luke looked at Vader again, and the force between them tightened. "Is it you?" Luke asked. Beru made a small sound, almost a sob. Vader stepped back as if struck. He had imagined many possible moments of truth: rage, denial, accusation, the Emperor's laughter, Obi-Wan's judgment. Not this. Not a boy in dusty clothes asking the question with a voice that still held room for mercy. Before Vader could answer, the sky screamed. A shuttle cut through the heat haze, descending fast from the upper atmosphere. Its wings were folded like claws. Imperial markings flashed along its hull, but the transponder code was not one Vader had authorized. Owen looked upward. "You led them here." Vader turned. "No." The shuttle landed beyond the ridge. Its ramp slammed open. Black-armored purge troopers spread across the sand, followed by a tall woman in dark crimson armor with a pale face and a narrow, hungry smile. A circular lightsaber hilt hung at her hip. Inquisitor Sar Vela. Vader had trained her after breaking her former master in the temple ruins. She was ambitious, vicious, and clever enough to pretend humility. Palpatine used such creatures as knives when he wanted Vader watched. Vela bowed from the ridge. "My lord, the Emperor sends his concern." Vader's fist clenched. Owen backed toward the doorway. "Beru, Luke, inside, now." Vela's gaze found the boy. Her smile vanished into something sharper. "Well," she called, "the desert grows miracles." Vader ignited his lightsaber. The red blade burned between him and the farm. Vela stopped walking. "My lord?" she asked, voice carefully blank. "You will leave." "I am commanded to secure any Force-sensitive asset connected to Senator Organa's treason." "Your command is superseded." "By you?" Vader did not answer. Vela laughed softly. "The Emperor warned me you might become sentimental." The purge troopers raised their weapons. Luke flinched as blaster muzzles aimed at the home he had always known. Vader moved. He crossed the courtyard faster than thought, blade carving red arcs through sunlight. Blaster bolts screamed toward him and returned to their senders. Troopers fell before they understood the battle had begun. Vela's own blade ignited, spinning crimson, and she leapt from the ridge with a cry meant to impress lesser enemies. Vader met her in the air. Their blades struck with a sound like the sky splitting. Vela was fast. She had rage and training, and the frantic confidence of someone who believed betrayal made her powerful. But Vader had been born in war, burned in lava, rebuilt in hatred, and fed on pain. until pain itself had become a weapon. He drove her back across the sand. "You knew," he said. Vela grinned through effort. "The Emperor suspected. He wanted proof. The girl on Alderaan, the boy here. He wondered which would break you first." Vader hammered her guard aside. She stumbled. "The Emperor lies," she said. "But not always. You did kill their mother, didn't you?" Vader's next blow cracked her saber ring. Vela rolled away, panting. "That is why he sent me. If you cannot deliver the children, I am to deliver your failure." She lifted a small beacon from her belt. Vader crushed it through the Force before her thumb touched the trigger. Then he seized her. Vela rose from the ground, clawing at her throat. "I should have known," she choked. "Skywalker blood always chooses weakness." The name struck the sand like thunder. Luke heard it. So did Owen. So did Beru. Vader's grip faltered. Vela felt it and smiled. Vader ended her before she could speak again. Silence fell, broken only by the hum of his blade and the distant hiss of cooling shuttle engines. Luke stood in the courtyard doorway, pale and shaking. "Skywalker," he whispered. Owen lowered his rifle slowly. Beru wept without sound. Vader extinguished his blade. The red light vanished from Luke's face. For one suspended moment, father and son looked at each other across a field of dead Imperials. Then another ship appeared. Not Imperial, Alderaanian. The moonwake dropped from the sun, engines howling, and landed hard enough to blast sand across the courtyard. Its ramp opened before the dust settled. Bail Organa emerged with a blaster in hand, royal robes traded for travel gear. Behind him came Breha, and beside her, Leia. Luke stared at the girl. Leia stared back. Neither spoke. Recognition passed between them without memory, without reason, older than language. Leia stepped down the ramp as if pulled by a thread tied around her heart. Luke moved toward her the same way. They stopped a few paces apart. "I dreamed you," Leia said. Luke swallowed. "I heard you shouting." "I wasn't shouting." "You usually are," Bail said softly, then seemed to regret the words because his eyes never left Vader. Leia looked at the bodies, then at Vader's saber hilt, then at Luke. "Are you all right?" "I think so," Luke said. "Are you?" "No." "That makes sense." In any other life they might have laughed. Vader watched them, and the sight hollowed him. They were not babies. They were not the dead child he had mourned in singular ignorance. They were alive, separate, shaped by lives stolen from him, and perhaps saved from him. Leia had learned command in palace halls. Luke had learned endurance under twin suns. Neither knew him, yet the Force braided around them in patterns he could not deny. Bail approached, blaster still raised. "Step away from them." Vader turned slowly. "You lied." Bail's face hardened. "I protected them. You let me believe they were dead. You were the right hand of the man who destroyed the Jedi. You slaughtered children." The accusation struck, and Vader could not deflect it. Luke looked at him quickly. Leia did not. She kept watching, as if putting pieces together faster than anyone wanted her to. "You had no right," Vader said. Bail's voice broke. "No right? Their mother asked for hope. Obi-Wan and Yoda believed hiding them was the only way they could live. I loved Leia from the moment she was placed in my arms. Owen and Beru loved Luke. Do not speak to me of rights while wearing that armor." Vader took a step forward. Bail did not retreat. Leia suddenly moved between them. "No," she said. Breha gasped. "Leia, come back!" Leia ignored her. She looked up at Vader. "If you're going to hurt him, you have to go through me." Vader stared down at her. "You do not understand what you are doing." Leia's chin lifted. "That never stops adults." Luke moved beside her. Owen swore under his breath. "Boy, get back here." Luke did not move. Vader looked at both of them. His children stood between him and vengeance. Not because they loved him, not because they knew him, because someone had to. The Force trembled. In the distance, the comm panel on Vela's shuttle crackled to life. A hologram burst above the ridge, flickering in the heat. Palpatine. His face was calm, but his eyes burned. "Lord Vader," the Emperor said. "How touching." Bail raised his blaster toward the image, uselessly. Leia stepped closer to Luke. Palpatine smiled at them. "So the Ashes kept secrets after all." Vader turned toward the hologram. "You knew." "I suspected. Certainty required pressure." Palpatine's gaze moved lovingly over the scene. Dead purge troopers, the fallen Inquisitor, the terrified Guardians, the children shining in the Force. "And now we have it." "You told me they were dead." "I told you what you needed to believe." Palpatine's voice sharpened. "Pain made you strong. Loss made you obedient. Would you have served so well if you had known your little heirs were breathing?" Vader's armor creaked as his fists closed. Luke whispered, "He lied to you." Leia said, "Of course he did." Palpatine laughed. "The princess has Padmé's tongue. How delightful." Vader's entire body went still. "Do not speak her name." "She died because of you." "Yes," Vader said, "and because of you." The Emperor's smile faded. "Careful now." Something ancient seemed to whisper in the Force. "This is the edge of all things." Palpatine lifted his chin. "Bring them to me, both of them. The boy will be molded. The girl will be broken first, then molded. You will kneel, and I may forgive this display." Leia's fear flared. Luke took her hand. Vader saw it. Small fingers gripping small fingers in the desert sun. Both children frightened. Both children standing anyway. He saw Padmé on Mustafar, pleading across flame. He saw his mother in the Tusken camp, too late for rescue. He saw younglings in the temple, eyes wide with trust that had become terror. He saw himself kneeling before Sidious because he had believed every road back to love was gone. No. The word did not come from Vader. It came from somewhere beneath him, from a name buried but not dead, from the boy who had wanted to free slaves, from the husband who had once held Padmé and imagined a home, from the father who had never been allowed to know he was one. No. Vader raised his hand. The shuttle's comm array twisted, shrieked, and collapsed inward. Palpatine's hologram distorted. The Emperor's voice cut through the static, furious now. "Vader!" The image vanished. The desert became silent again. No one moved. Finally, Leia said, very quietly, "He will come." Vader looked at her. "Yes." Bail's blaster remained trained on him. "Then we leave. Now." "Owen and Beru, too," Luke said immediately. Owen shook his head. "Luke! No!" Luke's voice cracked, but he forced it steady. "They'll punish you because of me." Beru crossed the courtyard and pulled him into her arms. "Oh, Luke." For the first time, Vader saw the full shape of what had been given to his son. Hard days, yes. Fear, lies, but also hands that held him, a table where he was fed, a voice calling him home. He had come to claim. Now he understood that claiming was not the same as loving. "We cannot outrun him in that cruiser," Vader said. Bail looked at him with naked distrust. "And you offer what? Imperial mercy?" "I offer time." "No," Owen said. "I don't trust him." "You should not," Vader replied. That answer unsettled them more than any threat. Vader looked toward the fallen Inquisitor's shuttle. "The Emperor will trace Vela here. He will expect flight, panic, a direct path to Alderaan or rebel allies. Instead, he will find death." Breha's eyes narrowed. "Whose?" Vader turned toward the moonwake. Bail understood first. "No. It must be believed destroyed with all aboard." That ship carries Alderaan's royal seal. It carries what the Emperor expects to hunt. Bael's jaw tightened. And what of us? Vader looked toward the horizon. There are old smuggling routes beneath the Jundland wastes. I know them. Owen stared. How? Vader did not answer. Beru did. Because he was born here. Luke looked at Vader again, and something in his face changed. Not forgiveness, not even understanding. Possibility. It hurt worse than hatred. They moved before sunset. The moonwake was emptied of anything that could identify survival. Bael recorded false distress signals. Breya placed royal tokens aboard with trembling hands. Owen loaded water, tools, and spare parts into an old sandcrawler service hauler he had once sworn never to use again. Beru packed food as if feeding everyone was still possible, even while the Empire hunted them. Leia and Luke stood near the edge of the courtyard, speaking in low voices. They had known each other for less than a day, and already stood like halves of an argument that had been going on forever. "You grew up in a palace?" Luke asked. "Yes." "Was it nice?" "Yes." "Oh." Leia glanced at the farm. "You grew up here?" "Yes." "Was it nice?" Luke looked at the cracked walls, the vaporators, Owen pretending not to watch him, Beru wiping tears while packing bread. "Sometimes." Leia followed his gaze. "Then yes." Luke smiled faintly. Vader watched from a distance. Bael approached him without lowering his blaster. "You are not coming with us." Vader turned. "You think you can prevent it?" "No. But I think if you come, they will spend every moment wondering whether you are father or captor. You have chosen against the Emperor once. That does not erase what you are." Vader looked toward the children. "They are mine." "They are themselves," Bael said. "That is the first lesson you must learn, if any part of Anakin Skywalker still exists." The name should have enraged him. Instead, it sank into him like a stone dropped into deep water. Anakin Skywalker. A dead name. A cursed name. A father's name. "What would you have me do?" Vader asked. Bael seemed surprised by the question. Then he answered carefully. "Help them live. Not possess them. Not train them. Not use them to heal yourself. Live with the pain of knowing they are alive and beyond your reach, if that is what protects them." Vader's breath rasped. "That is a cruel request." "Yes," Bael said. "Parenthood often is." At dusk, Vader guided the empty moonwake into the sky by remote command. It rose over the desert in a graceful silver arc, broadcasting panic, engine failure, and royal authentication codes. Far above, an Imperial cruiser emerged from hyperspace. The trap closed. Turbo lasers flashed. The moonwake became a brief, beautiful star over Tatooine. Leia made no sound, but Breya held her as if feeling the blast in her own bones. Bael closed his eyes. The galaxy would believe the Princess of Alderaan dead. Perhaps even the Emperor would believe it for a while. Luke watched the falling embers. "Is this what it means to be safe?" he asked. No one answered. Vader stood apart from them, the reflection of false death burning across his mask. He had lived inside a false death for years. Now he had given one to his children. The hauler left after nightfall, crawling into canyons older than the Republic. Owen drove. Bael sat beside him with maps and a blaster. Beru and Breya stayed with the children in the rear compartment, where supply crates formed narrow benches. Vader walked outside the vehicle for the first stretch, a black shadow moving through moonlit sand, listening for pursuit. Near midnight, they reached a cavern hidden beneath a collapsed ridge. Inside waited the obsidian veil, concealed under sensor-dampening nets. Raidus Mal stood beside the ramp and stared openly at the strange company. "My lord," he said, "this is more passengers than expected." "Prepare departure." Raidus looked at Luke, Leia, the Alderaanian royals, and the moisture farmers. He wisely stopped asking questions before beginning. Bael paused at the ramp. "Where does this ship go?" Vader said, "Not Alderaan. Not Tatooine. Not any world the Emperor will strike first. Then where? Vader hesitated. There had been a place once, spoken of in Jedi archives and dismissed as myth by most. A moon veiled in nebular storms, abandoned after the old hyperspace routes shifted. A sanctuary where healers had hidden artifacts during ancient wars. Vader had found mention of it while hunting survivors, then buried the information because it had seemed useless. Eshara's Veil, he said. Veil? That is a legend. So was the Sith. Leia stepped closer. Are you staying? The question surprised everyone. Vader looked down at her. No. Luke's face fell before he could hide it. Vader felt that small disappointment like a blade. Leia crossed her arms. Why not? Because the Emperor will not believe I died on the Moonwake. He will search for weakness in me. If I vanish, he will know where to look. If I return, he may doubt what he has seen. Bail studied him. You would go back to Palpatine? For now. To spy? To delay. To lie? Vader looked at him. Yes. Leia stepped even closer, ignoring Brea's warning. Will you still serve him? The honest answer was complicated. Vader did not know where service ended and survival began. He did not know how much of his life was chain and how much was choice. He only knew the sight of Palpatine's face when the hologram failed, and the taste of something almost like freedom. No, Vader said, but he must believe I do. Luke moved beside Leia. Will we see you again? Owen, that's not something you ask. Luke did not look away from Vader. Vader could have lied. It would have been kinder. It would have been easier. I do. Luke moved beside Leia. Will been kinder. It would have been easier. I do not know. Luke nodded, trying to be brave. Leia was less generous. That is a terrible answer. Yes. You should give better ones. I have very few. She considered him, then reached into a pouch at her belt. She withdrew a small strip of white cloth, embroidered with Alderaanian thread. It might have been torn from a sleeve or ceremonial sash. She held it out. Vader stared at it. What is this? A reminder. Of what? Leia's eyes shone, but her voice stayed hard. That we are alive. Vader did not move. Luke searched his own pockets, then produced a small carved piece of pale desert stone, rough and unfinished. I made this when I was bored. It's supposed to be a starship, but Uncle Owen says it looks like a sick womp rat. It does, Leia said. Luke glared at her. Then he offered it too. Vader took both objects carefully, as if they might break the armor more surely than a lightsaber. A princess's cloth. A farmer boy's stone ship. Proof of life. Proof of loss. Proof that the galaxy had not finished twisting the blade. Breha guided Leia up the ramp. Beru guided Luke. Bail followed, then Owen, who stopped beside Vader. The farmer looked at him for a long time. I hated your memory, Owen said. Before I knew you were alive, I hated what chasing stars did to Shmi. I hated what war did to the boy she loved. Then they brought Luke, and I hated you for leaving him behind, even though they told me you were dead. Vader waited. Owen's voice roughened. If you bring the Empire down on him, I don't care what powers you have. I'll find a way to stand between you and him again. I know. Owen nodded once. Good. He walked up the ramp. The obsidian veil lifted without lights. Vader stood alone in the cavern mouth as it vanished into the night sky. For a long while, he did not move. Then he turned back toward the desert. By dawn, he was aboard Vela's damaged shuttle, flying toward the Imperial cruiser, with his story prepared. The Inquisitor had found Force-sensitive fugitives. Organa had resisted. A rebel vessel had been destroyed. The children, if children there were, had died in the blast. Vader had killed Vela for attempting to conceal evidence and claim credit. Much of it was true. Truth, Vader had learned, could be arranged like bodies after battle. Palpatine received him in the throne chamber on Coruscant, beneath a ceiling of red glass. The Emperor sat motionless, fingers steepled, face unreadable. Vader knelt. "My master." The silence lasted long enough to become a weapon. "At times," Palpatine said, "I wonder whether you believe me a fool." "No, my master." "The Moonwake was destroyed." "Yes." "The Organa child was aboard." "Yes." "And the boy?" "Also dead." Palpatine leaned forward. "You felt this?" Vader bowed his helmet. "I felt the explosion." "That is not what I asked." Vader remained still. Palpatine descended the steps slowly. "Look at me." Vader lifted his mask. The Emperor's gaze stabbed through the Force, searching for cracks, hidden warmth, treason. Vader opened the doors of his rage. He showed Palpatine anger at Organa, hatred for Vela, disgust for Tatooine, grief sharpened into violence. All real, all useful. Around the memory of Luke and Leia, he built a wall from the oldest pain he possessed, Padmé's death. Palpatine touched that wound and found agony. He smiled. "Still mourning," the Emperor said, "after all this time." Vader said nothing. "Good. Mourning can be shaped. Hope is far more dangerous." "Yes, my master." Palpatine turned away. "Alderaan will be watched. Tatooine will be scraped for remnants. If Organa lives, he will surface eventually. If Kenobi is involved, he will make a mistake." Vader's hand tightened beneath his cape. "Of course," Palpatine continued. "Should I discover that you have deceived me, I will not punish you first." Vader felt the threat before the words came. "I will find whatever you tried to spare." The chamber darkened. Vader bowed lower. "I understand." "Do you?" "Yes, my master." Palpatine studied him once more, then waved a hand. "Go. Meditate on obedience." Vader rose and left. In the corridor outside, officers flattened themselves against the walls to avoid his path. None saw the small strip of white cloth hidden inside his glove. None saw the carved stone ship concealed beneath the armor near the ruins of his heart. He returned to his chamber and sealed it. Only then did he allow himself to open his hand. The cloth lay across his palm. The stone ship rested beside it, ugly and precious. Vader stared at them until the edges blurred. He did not weep. The armor would not allow it. Perhaps the man inside had forgotten how. But the Force shifted around him, not forgiving, not absolving, not clean. It moved like a door unlocked in a house long abandoned. Far beyond Coruscant, beyond official routes and imperial suspicion, the obsidian veil slipped through storm-lit space toward a moon most maps denied. In its rear compartment, Luke slept with his head against Beru's shoulder. Leia pretended not to sleep while leaning against Breya. Bail sat awake, watching the stars. Owen kept one hand near a blaster he hoped never to fire. In her half-dream, Leia felt the black mask again, but this time the lonely man behind it was not standing alone on a balcony. He was standing between a shadow and a flame, and though the shadow was vast, the flame had not gone out. Luke dreamed of a starship made of stone flying through impossible darkness. Vader dreamed of Padmé, not as she had been on Mustafar, not weeping, not afraid, not dying. He dreamed of her in sunlight, smiling as if she had known the answer all along. When he woke, the city outside his chamber was preparing for another day of obedience. The Empire still ruled. The Emperor still lived. The Jedi were still ashes. Vader was still trapped inside the machine of his sins, but somewhere, hidden from the throne, his children breathed. The galaxy had turned on a simple twist of fate, and for the first time since the fire, Darth Vader had something to fear besides loss. He had something to protect.